I prepared for this one because I know it's going to split a lot of people right down the middle. Some people say it's been debunked. Some people say it's been figured out, resolved, fixed, healed. Other things. But I'm here today to add my take on everything. So Back to the Future 2. So this is a film that really splits me. I enjoy it, don't say I don't. I actually really enjoy this film. I think it's great. As a sequel, it's a good sequel. As long as I don't think about it too much. Because when I start thinking about it, oh, they had so much potential. And it's staring them in the face. In the face. Yes, Rejected is finally tackling Back to the Future Part 2. Now don't get me wrong, this is a good film. For story, there is drama, comedy, and you have some new angles of the first film. But it's a massive issue when you've studied media and film like I have. See, I can praise films that make sense, that work, that have no faults, and I can see that and go, yes, that's great. Some parts I didn't like about it, but it still worked perfectly as a film. So you do have to hold people who make the slightest mistake accountable for this mistake. And Back to the Future Part 2 has a mistake. So let's say the science is possible, that people have figured out time travel, yada yada yada. When it comes to time travel, the main problem is bouncing around making paradoxes. A paradox is changing the past in a way that the present is changed dramatically. I wish I could go back in time and kill Hitler as a baby. Therefore, none of the Holocaust would ever happen. However, if I did that, Hitler would never be born, there'd be no Holocaust, and I would have no reason to go back in time. Therefore, because I never go back in time, Hitler would be born, Holocaust would happen, I'd want to go back in time. I'd go back in time, kill Hitler, no Holocaust. Do you understand now? If you cause that, everything turns into a big circle and time is fucked. So what happened when Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis sat down and rushed through pre-production to create a film they weren't happy with? What? They spent 2 years on it? And that's just writing it. What the hell were they doing? Bob Gale wrote the initial script, while Rob Zemeckis was busy working on a film that would define his career. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? The rabbit is to blame for this film. Okay, well, apart from that, it's not like there's going to be any other issues. One of the most iconic characters from the first film doesn't want to be in the film. Fuck's sake, Crispin. Crispin Glover doesn't want to be a part of it. Oh well, he probably thinks his career is taking off and he doesn't need to be in this one. So let's take a look. What did Crispin Glover end up doing, let's say, 10 years ago?
Legendary candy.
He thought he made a good choice not being in Back to the Future Part 2. What? Okay, Crispin's out. Let's carry on. Oh, what? Claudia Wells won't be in it either. Claudia Wells, Marty McFly's girlfriend, doesn't want to be in it either. Can we find a hot blonde that looks like her? Yes, Back to the Future Part 2 is set to pick up where we left off, seeing Doc, Marty and Jennifer flying to the future to sort out their kids. But let's just get on with it. Act 1, 2015. Doc and Marty arrive in 2015, knocking out Jennifer and leaving her in the bins. Now when I say knocking out, they use the machine, they just don't go boof. And the reason why Doc has brought Marty to the future is so that Marty can change future history. And before you think a timeline can mess up here, it's events that haven't happened yet, changing them, so it goes well. I think there's no problem with this one, but I'm not going to look into it. No, I think this one's fine. So, we have a repeat from the first film. The chase in the town centre on skateboards. But instead, we have hoverboards. Proper hoverboards. Not hoverboards that have wheels. They aren't hoverboards. If they've got to connect to the ground to move, they aren't fucking hovering. You moron. Marty buys a book that has sports results and plans to take it back to 85 and place some bets, making money off of it. This one. Doc warns Marty about it and Biff overhears it. Jennifer gets found and is taken to her future home. Doc and Marty must now stop Jennifer from seeing her future self, which could either send her into shock or split the space-time continuum. Bit risky. While Doc and Marty are doing that, Biff puts his plans into action. He plans on taking the sports almanac to 1955 and giving it to his younger self to become richer and have a better future. This is misusing the time machine, and now the paradox is created because Biff then brings the DeLorean back into the future in the same timeline. It's a problem. So Doc Brown later explains what I'm about to. So, Doc, Marty and Jennifer go to 2015. I'm good with that. So ditto. Old Biff takes the almanac to 55, changing future events, meaning he is now stuck in 55 because if he goes into the future, he's taking the DeLorean to that 2015, where Doc and Marty are most certainly not. But instead the film decides, fuck it, we're going to go back to 2015 so that the car can get replaced, and then they go back, but instead they go to the ultimate 85, which they would anyway, because naturally because the car wouldn't be able to go back in time. Which means the DeLorean would never have been made because Doc was committed, so he would never have finished the DeLorean to have it tested, and Marty would never have known Doc because he's in Switzerland, so none of this makes sense. Well, let's say the second half of the film doesn't fall apart. Yeah, we just carry on as normal. Doc and Marty return to the alternate 1985 where Biff is a billionaire, married to Lorraine, and Marty's father George is dead. That's what you get crispin'. And here we have the backstory of the alternate timeline. On the day of the enchantment under the sea dance, an old man told Biff he was a distant relative and gave him the almanac. After a chase scene, with Marty putting a lot of faith in Doc and sturdiness of the DeLorean, could you imagine if he slipped off that? Doc and Marty must now go back to 1955 and get the sports almanac from young Biff and save history. And a brilliant thing about this is they can't try and stop old Biff. They need old Biff to think he succeeded, so he takes the DeLorean back to 2015. Mwah! And we also get the added risk that both Marty and Doc can't be seen by their younger selves, so Doc and Marty are bouncing around the events of 1955 until the ultimate climax of the film, the final battle between Biff and Marty, which ends in poetic. So Doc and Marty have succeeded, but being caught in the storm, we get one of the biggest shocks to anyone unknowing of the franchise.
Whoa, you don't want to get struck by lightning!
And this would be one of the few times that a trilogy gets it right. This is one of the things I love. The first film of the franchise needs to hook everyone into the idea of the film, the characters and the story. Done that with Back to the Future Part 1. Back to the Future Part 2, just like a lot of other sequels, leading into a third film, the only way that they can hook people onto watching the third film is having the main character lose. Avengers Infinity War did this. And they did it brilliantly. I can't fault Avengers Infinity War. They did it brilliantly. You have to lose to have the big win. So Marty is trapped in 1955 until a dark figure appears, bringing a letter to Marty. that has been in their possession since 1885. Doc Brown has been sent back in time by the lightning strike, and Marty McFly must now seek the help of only one man, Doc Brown. And with that, the curtain down. Back to the Future Part 2 is a struggle for me. As a sequel, it's great. Absolutely great. Visually, you cannot fault it. Even the makeup designs were praised for it. But as a story, how could they not notice the blatant fuck up? I've read fan theories about how they've resolved it, how they got around it, and because of something Doc said and this and that. I like that idea, I do. I'd want this film to work, I want this film to make sense. But it doesn't. But Endgame fucked up way bigger. And that will be explained in a future video if you want to see that one, because if you want me to explain why Endgame's timeline was fucked, you just comment down below. For story, great idea, great plot, and yes, it does lend a lot to the first film, even duplicating scenes, but it doesn't take away the uniqueness of the follow-on from the world's best time travel movie. And for that, it gets a 3.5. And for execution, fantastic visuals. By having such a mistake that has gone down in infamy, and sadly, I can't give it any higher than a 2.5. Back to the Future Part 2 gets a 6. But it's almost insulting to give that score. I mean, yes, it's rejoicing and all that, but it's such a low score compared to the original. They were so close with one timeline that they fucked up changing the past. And now, for the one I've seen the most. Just because it's been on TV the most, I don't know why. They haven't shown like Back to the Future 2 and Back to the Future 1 that much. But Back to the Future 3's been on so many times. But will it get higher score than Back to the Future Part 2? You'll have to wait and see.